You are listening to the Midnight Movie Snack Podcast with Chris and Garrett. Hello, and welcome to the Midnight Movie Snack Podcast with Chris and Garrett. This is episode 8, Better Than Diamond Rings. I'm Chris, and tonight Garrett and I revisit Wildcats, an 80s comedy with the lovely and wonderful Goldie Hawn. Also starring a young Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes in their first film together. The young Robin Lively, whom you may recall was Ralph Macchio's almost girlfriend in The Karate Kid Part 3. And a familiar face for those of you who joined us for our Time Cop episode, Bruce McGill, who is a wonderful veteran character actor, as well as comic great Nipsey Russell and the late Tab Thacker, a North Carolina native and an all-around nice guy. If you don't own a copy of Wildcats for tonight's episode, this month HBO Max has Wildcats on their lineup. This isn't a promotion for HBO Max. I am a subscriber. I was pleasantly surprised to see that the streaming service is showing some love to this 80s comedy. Before we kick off, a reminder that the Midnight Movie Snack Podcast has merchandise. Check us out at TeePublic, that's TeePublic.com, for t-shirts, magnets, stickers, and more. Show your support for the podcast, and be sure to tell your friends to follow us on their podcast service of choice. And so, without further delay, game time begins now.
Awesome.
So, the last time I saw this movie, Wildcats, I think it was the 80s. I haven't seen this movie since.
I think I agree with you. I think it's the same for me.
Yeah, and I remember when I saw it, I think Woody Harrelson had already started on Cheers after Coach died, and I remember, like, when he came on, I was like, who is this guy? Because I loved Coach. And so when he died, I thought, man, they're trying to get this young guy in here to replace Coach. And but Woody won me over. I thought he was really funny. But yeah, this is the first movie that Woody and Wesley Snipes did together. And it's that's what I remember most about this movie. I mean, of course, Goldie's great in it. I didn't do a lot of research on this movie. I think the most I did was I read the Wikipedia page for it. And
Well, that's good enough. That's all you need to know, I think. I think
right.
We found everything you need to know.
Yeah. And what I did remember when I was reading that page is that this movie wasn't well received. This was after Goldie had success with Private Benjamin, which is another really great movie from the 80s. She won big with that movie. And so I think this was the follow-up to, this was like the next movie she did, if I'm not mistaken. And I think a lot of people were expecting another Private Benjamin, and it's not. I mean, it's, I remember enjoying it. And I know since then the movie gets some criticism that it's like one of these quote white savior unquote movies where it's like the white person comes to the inner city school and makes everything better. And it's like, that kind of stuff. I'm like, look, it's not trying to be a social statement. It's just trying to be a comedy, a football,
Right.
Football comedy. So I don't really see that issue. I just see, it's a decent comedy. It's got some great performances in it, and it's Goldie. It's Goldie Hawn. It's like,
I think I took it at the time. I don't remember it being, and maybe it's being naive from whatever, a 13, 14-year-old at the time when this movie came out, something like that. But it's like, I think it's more about, to me, the theme was about being a woman being the coach.
Exactly.
And it didn't make a difference what color she was.
Right.
Even though obviously that kind of gives the, as well. But I think that was They definitely play off that. I'm sure. I mean, we'll watch it and we'll find out because I've not watched any of this in, like you said, in 30 years. But I do have fond memories of the film, and I remember enjoying it and liking it, and so I think it's, and of course I knew her from Private Benjamin as well, and Overboard. I think it already happened, right? Is Overboard?
Right. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that's one of my wife's favorite. She loves Overboard.
What was that happen already, or did Overboard follow this?
Let me just check real quick.
I don't remember. Look and see. But I just remember that aspect, and I remember that but one of the cool things about this movie to me is just like, like there's a lot of movies.
Overboard came out in '87, so it was a year after Wildcats.
A year after this,
Wildcats was '86.
Well, she followed it up well.
So basically, the order of things was Private Benjamin was in '80. Then she did Seems Like Old Times with Chevy Chase, which was reuniting her with her Foul Play co-star. Foul Play was from the '70s, which is one of my favorites of hers, as well as Chevy's. Then she did Best Friends with our favorite Burt Reynolds. That was in '82. She did Protocol in '84, Wildcats in '86. She did, I need to back up a little. She did Swing Shift, which had her, I guess that's where they met, Kurt Russell, because Kurt Russell was in that. That was in '84. And then she did Wildcats in '86. And then Overboard in '87. So she was really busy in the '80s. I mean, of course, that's what I remember. I mean, when I think about Goldie, I think about her movies from the '80s. I mean, I know she did movies in the '70s and obviously in the '90s. I think was kind of, I probably would argue that her '90s movies are what a lot of people remember her for, maybe more so than the '80s movies. Because, in the '90s, she did Bird on the Wire with Mel Gibson. She did Death Becomes Her with Meryl Streep and Bruce Willis, which is another movie I like. She did House Sitter with Steve Martin, which doesn't get a lot of love, but
I like that movie.
I do too. I think they're really really good together. In fact,
I thought it was good.
They wound up doing The Out of Towners later on.
And I like that movie.
Mm-hmm. I really felt like I'm glad they did at least 2 movies together, but I always felt like Steve Martin and Goldie just had really good chemistry, and I wish they had done more movies together because they just played off each other so well, I thought. But when I think about Goldie, I think about '90s Goldie. That was the Goldie that I was like, just thought, she was funny and beautiful, and I just pretty much anytime she came out in anything, I would be like, oh, I got to see it. Goldie's in it. And the fact that, she is, I don't know if they're officially married, but, I guess her common law husband, I mean, he's just one of the coolest cats in the world, and that's Kurt Russell.
Oh, yeah.
And then also, more recently, her son, Wyatt, is the new Captain America on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
That's her son?
Yeah, that is. And if you look, you can tell, I mean, he's got her hair, her coloring, but his facial features remind me a lot of Kurt.
Wow. I did not realize that.
Yeah. He's a great actor too. Wyatt's really good. So
I just knew her. Is it her other son?
Oliver Hudson.
Oliver.
Yeah.
Oliver Hudson. Yes.
Oliver and Kate are from Goldie's.
Right.
And then Wyatt is from her relationship, marriage, whatever, with Kurt. So yeah, and it's interesting. I saw an interview with Kate several years back, and she was asked about her birth father, and her comment was, "I don't know him. I've never known him. We don't have a relationship." She says, "As far as I'm concerned, Kurt is my dad."
Yeah.
So
I think Oliver feels the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Kurt, by all accounts, Kurt has just been he's been a good father figure to them. And the fact that he grew up in show business, like Wyatt, as a matter of fact, there was a recent interview with him where he was talking about taking on this role of the new Captain America. And being that Kurt had already done Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Wyatt talked to his dad and said, should I do this? Should I, and he said, my dad has always been, being that he's grown up in the business, he's very practical about things. And he flat out asked me, he said, do you think you'll be good in it? And Wyatt was like, well, yeah. He said, all right, well, if you think you're going to be good in it, do it. He's like, the Marvel people are great, but don't do it if you don't think you can be good. You can't be good in it. So he's like, it was kind of a dose of reality. It wasn't like, oh yes, son, you can do it. You can do anything. He's like, look, if you feel like you can't do it, don't do it. So yeah. Anyway,
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's wild. Yeah, like Logan, my oldest, he knows Kurt Russell. Okay, like I got him like some of the early Disney, like from some of the early stuff. So like he knows Kurt Russell from like is playing Dexter Riley.
Yeah,
there's several movies that in the Disney stuff back in the day, and so like he's enjoyed seeing. I mean, like he really loved those movies. Yeah, and oh yeah, so did I. Growing up, I liked those. But and then of course he loves Guardians of the Galaxy, so it's cool. So we got to see him there, and then of course he's got to see him, and of course now he's on the Christmas Chronicles? Is that he's played Santa Claus? I mean, in the sequel, the second one has Goldie.
Goldie's in the second one too, yeah.
And the first one has Oliver.
That's right.
He's the dad who passes away. I don't want to give him spoiler alert, but that's just spilled the beans. But back to Wildcats. Yeah, I mean, like my main thought on this was is like going. I just remember this as being, and I think we may have mentioned this in a previous podcast, but there was movies like Lean on Me, and which wasn't that. I mean, I thought that had a great inspirational story to it, but you have stuff like Tough Turf and Class of 1984, and there's the other one that we were talking about doing as well, like a high school movie, like where Sean Penn, what's the name? Bad Boys. So like if you watch those movies, it gives you this point of view of like you're scared of high school,
right?
You're scared of America, like, oh my God, especially anything inner city is almost played to the fact of like going, like you need to be scared of it. And then you have like the John Hughes version, which is like almost like it's the preppiest version of ever. And it's like the most, surreal, it's like, it's just, everybody's like wearing polos and Azads and
right.
Like that. But with Wildcats, and I don't think it's a slight on, and I read somebody wrote something about trying to slam John Hughes on his version of high school.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, to me, it's like when I looked at this as just being, I mean, one, I think it viewed Black youth in inner city at that time frame not being scary at all, not trying to like scare America with like the inner city plights of whatever. It's the fact of going that these were, high school students who just wanted to play football, wanted to live a normal life and do it just like anybody else. And it didn't make a difference if you were in inner city America or if you were in the suburbs America, you could identify with it. And it was a funny comedy, and it was nothing to be, it's like, if anything, to me, it just made it like you could relate to it. I'm not saying it was like reality. Who knows? Because I didn't grow up in inner city Chicago, but I think it gave it a little bit more of it took some of the fear factor out of it for me, in the sense of like when you looked at, because I went to school with Black kids and Asians and every other kind of ethnicity, and so did you, because we went to the same schools.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's like I think it gave it. I think to me, it just gave it a little bit more of through comedy, and I think it's what comedy can do on many levels. But it broke down barriers. And what a great opportunity that it gave this
point.
Gave cast.
You bring up a good point. I think, whenever these issues come up, and to me, it's always extreme. So like, you mentioned we went to the same high school, and, I had friends of all ethnicities. And, yeah, was there racism out and about? Yeah. I mean, we grew up in the South. I mean, there are some, I think we were the first generation to see that for what it is. Whereas I think previous generations just kind of accepted, oh, well, that's just the way it is. I'm not racist, but, it's just the way it is kind of thing. But I think our generation was the first one to kind of look at these things and go, what's the problem here? I mean, yeah, there are people who are racist, but they're idiots. It's like, I honestly, growing up in junior high, high school, and beyond, it's like, I didn't care about those things, just if somebody wanted to be friends with me, I'd be friends with them, and vice versa.
Exactly.
Vice versa. And so I think it just, movies, entertainment, it kind of gets polarized. It's like, oh, this is, white savior complex, or this is, showing the ugly side of inner city life or whatever. And it's like, okay, are there bad things? Yes. But there are also good things. And to your point, I mean, this movie, Wildcats, got a lot of critical hashing over the fact that it's a lightweight comedy. It wasn't being, but it's like, that's all it wanted to be, was a lightweight comedy. It's not trying to make some statement, social statement about inner city high schools in the 80s. It's about, there's a football team. They get a female coach. I mean, that was the big issue back then. It's like,
right,
female football coach, what? And that's part of the what happens in the movies is pushback she gets because of it, but how she kind of overcomes that in spite of it, and rallies the team and so forth. So, I mean, in all likelihood, if they ever did a remake of this, they probably would recast, with, they probably would keep the woman character, but probably make her black, or, something like that. And that's, to me, it's like, it doesn't matter. The color is not the issue. At least that's how I see it. And I'm sure if somebody else could look at it and have a totally different reaction. But at the end of the day, I try to remember, look, this is a comedy. It's not trying to be a deep drama like I think about the movie that Michelle Pfeiffer did in the 90s, where she was the teacher in the inner city school. Right. I don't even remember the name of it, but
I just talked about. I remember that. I don't remember the name of it either.
Yeah,
but
the name will come to me at some point. And then there was a couple of other movies, I think, kind of a similar genre. Those were serious movies. Wildcats, I think, is just it's just intended to be something funny and enjoyable. I did want to mention before we jump in that the cast. There's some really good actors in this movie, and I want to single out one because I know when I say the actor's name, you're going to be in total agreement.
I don't. Let me guess. It's Tab Thacker.
Nope.
Oh, okay. I knew it was going to be Tab.
The lovely, the funny Jan Hooks. Rest in peace.
Yes.
Jan Hooks was probably. I loved Jan Hooks when she was on Saturday Night Live. I just, she was so funny, but also just stunningly beautiful. And so when I saw the cast list, I'm like, oh, that's right, Jan was in this. I'm really looking forward to seeing her in it. She plays, I think, the new wife of Goldie Hawn's character's ex-husband, which is played by James Keach, who is the younger brother of Stacy Keach.
Yes.
James Keach, I've not really looked at his filmography, and maybe I'm just basing it off of this one film, but James Keach plays like bad guys or just slimy characters so well. He is so unlikable in this movie, which is what he's supposed to.
In this movie, he definitely is.
Yeah. So he's perfectly cast for this. I thought he did a good job. But we got Nipsey Russell, which is a blast from the past. The 70s. I remember Nipsey, his comedy routines. Robin Lively, who was in Karate Kid Part 3.
Hey.
Who is Blake Lively's half sister. So she is technically related to Ryan Reynolds.
That's right. Ryan Reynolds' sister-in-law.
And let's see.
How's that? That's pretty cool.
Bruce McGill, who was in Time Cop, which we looked at not too long ago.
Yes.
And Emmett Walsh, who is one of those
older. Been in everything. Good gosh.
I mean, just everything. He's a great actor. So the more we're talking about this, the more excited I am about watching it. Um, so unfortunately, this movie holds a score on Rotten Tomatoes of 22%. I don't agree with that, but and Roger
Well,
Ebert.
we'll watch it and we'll figure out. We'll see
Yeah.
if our 13 or 14 to 16-year-old cells
Yeah.
will still like this.
I hope so.
Me,
I have
before we
fond
get
memories.
started, when it gets there, hold on. Sorry.
No problem.
I got. Hold on. Pause.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Had children issues.
Yeah, I'm familiar with those.
Yeah.
All too.
But that's what I was saying. It's like, but the one thing about this movie that I remember, and it's the song from I guess LL Cool J.
Yes.
Sang it originally, but it's a little rap, a little football. It's Sport of King, better than diamond rings.
Yep.
And man, once that song goes, that little ditty gets in your head,
it does.
It's hard to get out, and it's like
it is so true. That is one of the things I remember about this movie. I'll never forget. So when I first saw this movie, I saw it with some friends that lived in my neighborhood, and for like that summer, the summer that we saw this movie, like we were constantly singing this song or rapping this song to each other. And it was one of our friends in the street. He was so funny. He'd always be like, football. And he would always say it at like the funniest times. Like we could be doing something not even related to this. And he'd always find those moments, would just go, football. And it would just send us we'd crack up just because we really got tickled by this song. We found it really funny. So, okay. Let me get my earbuds set up here. And make sure. So I've got mine. So we're watching Wildcats on HBO Max. No promotion there. Just thank you, HBO Max, for providing Wildcats for us to watch. I've got it at 0.
Shut up.
Hold on. All right. Sorry. It kept going. It kept going. I had it up and it times out.
Yeah.
And
my snack for tonight, by the way, is just going to be a Diet Dr. Pepper, which I'm going to open right now. So you'll hear it.
Love it.
Diet Dr. Pepper. Oh, that's good. Another cross promotion. Diet Dr. Pepper. Delicious.
Tastes just like the original.
But better.
but better. All right, I don't know. There it is.
I don't know. They've come out with a Dr. Pepper Zero. And I'm telling you what, that's the best Zero, in my opinion, of them all. It is the Zero to rule them all. They even have a cherry Dr. Pepper Zero.
Okay, so what's your number at?
I am at, well, let me pull up my phone. My phone goes into dark mode every like 10 seconds. I'm at 000.
Okay, hold on. Okay, 000. Okay, I'm the same way.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. So for everybody joining us, we're going to count down. We'll do 3, 2, 1, play. Good old Warner Brothers. Oh yeah. We'll do a little beatbox in this too.
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah. So when I said Tab Thacker earlier, oh, there's a song. Oh, sorry.
Better than rings. To sing.
But I said Tab Thacker for those. Tab Thacker was from North Carolina, was just where Chris and I are from.
Yep.
And he went to NC State. Was a decorated wrestler.
Yep.
And Clint Eastwood was the one who spotted him and put him in, I think, City Heat.
Yeah.
And then he did this movie next. And he was in two of the Police Academy movies, like 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, or I don't know, maybe it was 8 and 9. I don't know, 10. I don't know. It was one of those Police Academy movies. I think it was 4 or 5, but he was kind of famous for around here just for,
so
he was a funny guy, and blessed, and God rest his soul too, because he passed away a few years back. He had some health issues, and but he was in this movie, and he's got a funny.
So we didn't mention this, but this is directed by Michael Ritchie, who also directed The Bad News Bears, another sports themed movie.
Yeah. Oh, he did a lot of sports themed movies.
Uh-huh.
He did Cool Runnings.
Yeah. I love
the Burt Reynolds film. Not The Longest Yard, the other one.
I know the one you're talking about. Swoosie Kurtz.
Yep. And to me, she's, I love her and Mike and Molly. I think she's one of the best things on that show.
Yeah. Swoosie's had a really long career. She's a great actress. She can do comedy. She can do drama. She's great. Sorry, babe.
Hey, is that the
That's Bruce McGill.
Yeah, what's he been?
He was in Animal House.
What TV show was he in? Was he in?
He was in the last episode of Quantum Leap. He was the bartender that Sam thought was God. Oh, there's what's his name? What's that actor's name? He's been a lot of stuff. I don't. George Weiner.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's where you mentioned this. Time Cop is what I'm. Man, I totally had a brain lapse there. Yeah.
All right. This actor, George Weiner, he's been in like hundreds of television shows and movies. I mean, he has had a huge career. Trying to remember. I remember him in Spaceballs. Played Colonel Sanders.
Oh, he was also in Ride. He was the lieutenant in Ride Along, and Ride Along too. That's more recent stuff.
Yeah.
People are. Now, I read somewhere that somebody said this was Chevy Chase's personal racquetball court, but I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone said it was, but I was like, I don't. You can see from the stuff behind it. I'm like, if it was, it's just they did a really good job of.
She's gonna nail it.
And like this is like racquetball, people still play it, but this was definitely an 80s sport, man. That people was like, it was like he was really popular. Like Coach K, this is a little side note. Coach K used to play racquetball. I mean, I think just about every day at Duke.
Really?
Yeah, that was one of his. Now I think that's before his hip surgeries and knee surgeries and everything else he's had. But he used to play racquetball a lot.
Pay him $1 for every time he says babe.
Babe. Sorry.
Oh, they cut it right before he face planted. Just my pride.
Yeah. Oh. Sorry, I'm some stuff just. Yes, I wonder if like Robin and Blake ever share any holidays together.
Robin Lively. Wash your mouth out with soap, girl.
Here my granddad used to he used to have show dogs. He had these trophies he won, and it said like a couple of them had like first class bitch on the thing. And as a kid, of course, I thought it was the most funniest thing, ever. I was like, first class bitch. Ah. I think Rob and I would have got along well. Not a joke.
Why does she need to tell him? That's my question.
Yeah.
And you probably would molest one of those kids. Love the 80s popped collar on her
Yep.
shirt.
And I have no doubt that some of that male chauvinist stuff for sure was going on.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where Batman.
You bring up something, it's true. Like those scenes were shot, but like Chicago made a great Gotham City, I thought.
It did.
Is that Joe Cocker singing? Sounds like Joe Cocker.
I don't know.
We'll find out. It sounds like Joe Cocker. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's
Are
Joe
those
Cocker.
are those Higgins Dobermans?
Higgins' dogs. Nipsey Russell.
Yeah.
I
The
don't know what it
puppies.
is, but like Nipsey Russell, like he was like growing up in the 70s, it seemed like he was always on TV. And I just always liked, he always made me laugh. I always
Oh
liked
yeah.
him.
He's a definitely a likable fella.
Right.
Just a little bit left.
Peanut brittle. This is all I eat. I eat peanut brittle every day. He's got you there, Goldie.
And it's good to see too that, like that that he's really he's in favor of her being there
Oh, yeah.
and not like looking at it as being like,
Yeah.
like, why do they send you? And, and now the kids may feel that way, but,
Yeah.
but
Nice.
Woody Harrelson with a nice mane of hair.
Yeah.
Calisthenics.
Was Piff Daddy showing up? What's
Look who it is.
mm-hmm.
He likes shrimp salad, boiled shrimp, fried shrimp, shrimp kebab, shrimp scampi, shrimp salad. Yeah.
Uh-oh. I was going to say safe bet I got $50 saying it is.
Is it a whistle?
Actually, I want to tell you that I don't think that I'm.
Oh.
That it's not fair. That I should be so lucky. I just wanted to say thanks again for picking me.
He's got an attitude. Football. This rockin' 80s soundtrack.
Let's see what Woody's got. I know he can basketball, but can he ball? Can he football?
Here comes Blade.
That's right.
Terrible.
It's not exactly the same as quitting. Farewell hired somebody else.
This movie was on HBO quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, it was. In fact, when I first saw it, I think one of my friends in my neighborhood, they had recorded it. So we watched it on their VCR. So they decorated her office.
Don't call me baby.
Hey, güera, quiero que me chupes el pito.
What do you say?
He says, yes, ma'am.
My name is Coach. That's just too much for me for them. Just call me Coach.
All this guy does is bodily functions. Why don't you quit? Get a real player.
You want to get rid of me? You really want to get rid of me?
Absolutely.
Step out, son. If I drop before any one of you, you can tell me to go to hell. What? If you quit before I do, then from here on out,
Bird's pretty smart. There's a Refiero back there in the background. That's pretty 80s.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Call me, let me know who won.
I think I'm behind you a couple of seconds now.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll just pause for a second. Okay, I'm at 28-24.
All right, I'm at 28:30.
So maybe you're ahead of me? What do you have? What are you seeing?
Well, it just started thundering
Yeah.
and they're still running.
Yeah, I got that.
Show me how it works.
Yeah. Bird's girlfriend isn't amused.
No, she's not.
Yeah.
Oh. There it is. And then there was one.
Let's see how Blade does.
Come on, Daywalker. No, I have to say, like, Wesley Snipes. I couldn't make it through all of the movie, but he was one of the main reasons why I wanted to watch the Coming to America sequel because he's in it.
Yeah, he does okay. I mean, it's nothing.
Yeah,
He doesn't have a ton of scenes in it.
but yeah,
Coach.
what a creep.
Woo. I think this is probably the reason I watched this movie several times that summer of.
There's Jan.
Jan Hooks, yep. Yeah, she's a very pretty lady.
She is. I loved her on SNL.
Yeah.
She's so funny.
That was a great cast.
Yep.
That's when I started. That's like the late 80s there is when I really took, I mean, that point. I think I started watching some when I heard that Anthony Michael Hall was going to be, Robert Downey Jr. were going to be on Saturday Night Live. But when probably my favorite is when I guess like Dana Carvey, Church Lady, stuff. I mean, and obviously I saw Eddie Murphy do his some but that's when I really started taking off with probably Church Lady and that kind of stuff was my. Now this James is it James Keach? Is that right?
Yeah.
He was married. He was married to Jane Seymour.
Yeah.
They had twins.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty cool. I did read this. They named them John and Chris. John and Chris after Johnny Cash because he became good friends with Johnny Cash back. Johnny Cash loved the Western that they did back in the early 80s that had the Quades and it had him and his brother in it. I forgot the name of the movie, but the Chris was named after Christopher Reeves. They're really good friends with Christopher Reeves as well. So that's pretty cool that their twin boys were named after Johnny Cash and Christopher Reeves. That's got to be that's pretty cool when you can say, "Oh yeah, I'm named after Johnny Cash," and the other brother said, "Yeah, I'm named after Christopher Reeves." So. And he produced Walk the Line, and he had a role in the movie as well. He not only produced it, but and it was all because of his relationship with Johnny Cash.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of it's mixing a famous, the aerobics were huge in the 80s. It's like they're combining a little bit of that aspect in here. I don't think Coach Boone would have done it this way and remember the Titans, but hey, to each their own.
That's right. Different ways.
Different ways, different methods.
Robin's like, you suck up.
Yeah.
Yeah, two cheerleaders.
Mm-hmm. We got Dodgers. Yeah. But this does. I mean, you think about like Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes about all the things they've been in since. And I can't say his name, but Bird, how you say his name? Obviously from Forrest Gump and done other stuff.
Yeah, how do you say his name? I used to know how to pronounce it. I gotta McKelty Williamson.
McKelty, yeah. I mean, he's a great. I mean, I like him. I mean, this is kind of cool to see him in this role, and after being known for being in. There's Wesley Snipes' famous line. Oh no, it's coming. Dude, that was yeah. wouldn't make it today, I don't think. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, I don't know. But
she looked appropriately creeped out by him.
Yeah, it's like again, 1986 humor.
Yeah, it is funny that like some of this stuff like this would not fly today.
Yeah. I didn't pay attention. Is there any lines on that field?
No, I just think it's a grassy field.
Yeah, I saw things.
They're like imaginary lines.
There's I mean like there's like the 10-yard, like 10, the 20, the 30. I don't know if there is. I have to pay attention to the next game where they play.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Principal Edwards.
Nah, no. Right. We saw that one coming.
Yep. 80s comedy is so predictable sometimes.
Yes. So. And like Michael, I mean, I don't know whose fault. I mean, you mentioned Michael Ritchie earlier.
Yeah.
It's like he had some really good movies, and then he had some movies that didn't really do well at all. Obviously, I mean, Fletch is, I love Fletch. Bad News Bears. I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, Cool Runnings was good. I mean, he did quite a few other stuff. What else did he do? I looked at this earlier about his. Oh, Semi Tough. That's the movie I was trying to mention.
Semi Tough, yeah.
Yeah. The Golden Child. That wasn't Eddie Murphy's favorite movie, but it made money. Cool Runnings, Cops and Robertsons.
Yep. Yeah.
Acting out. Did my hair.
What a wine cooler. Girls just want to have fun, Mom.
That's right. I'm gonna be the nice boy named Daniel LaRusso someday. Boys.
All right, it looks stupid. Looks stupid. Happy?
You want some truth? There you go.
You. There, are you happy? That's a stupid dream. Lies. Lies.
I'm not going to quit. I'm going to see this through.
All right, Mom. Catting around.
I think that's what he's saying.
Right.
Right.
So the actor who keeps on having the bodily functions of burping, farting, he's listed as Nick Corey in the credits, but his name is Jesus Garcia, and it's like there's actually was born Jesus Garcia, but then it goes by JSU Garcia now. It's Nick Corey, and then but he is an ordained. He's a minister. Hold on, this is wild. Don't know what this is, but let me hold on.
Okay.
He's an ordained minister in the movement of spiritual inner awareness, founded by John Roger. Whatever that means, I have no clue. So
Okay.
the guy, but he's still acting. He doesn't. He's got. He got his first thing in Nightmare on Elm Street, where he
I thought he looked familiar. Yeah.
and he was also in Collateral Damage with Schwarzenegger. And he was in We Were Soldiers. He's been in some. He's got two movies that he's should be coming out in 2021. Her band looks really nice now.
You recognize who that was, right?
Yep. How much you pay?
It's a classic Volkswagen van.
Yeah. Can't trust him. He's a criminal. The key doesn't work. We gotta go through the window.
That's fresh.
Oh, I forgot he was in Justified, man. I forgot all about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. He was good in that too. And he was on 17 episodes of 24, because obviously one season.
Yep. There he was.
And I forget that he was Gerard on the Fugitive TV shows for 23 episodes.
Yep.
Now, this I did not know. He was in the new WKRP in Cincinnati. I did not remember that. 46 episodes, dude.
I remember that sitcom. I don't remember him in it, but I remember the sitcom.
JJJ.
Hmm.
But man, he started his second credit is he was on Starsky and Hutch on an episode back in '78, dude. So he's been acting for.
Sure has.
He did an episode of Alice, Streets of Fire, Bay City Blues, Give Me a Break, Mommy Vice, and then I think this was his first movie as well.
Yep.
Wildcats is his first, and then he had an uncredited role on Delta Force.
Oh.
Okay, there's some lines, but they're very faint. That's for sure. Touchdown.
Are there lines on this field? I didn't even notice.
They're very faint. Yeah, there's the collars popped again.
Yep, pop collars. Frank.
Frank.
That's right. Don't be grabbing a coach like that or I'll fart on you. Truth.
She likes it.
Oh. Oh.
One of them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Dabney Coleman, he played that role well. Who else? Who else in the '80s had that kind of?
James Keach wishes he could be Dabney Coleman.
Oh, I mean, true. I mean, it's a poor man's Dabney Coleman. How's that? There's another guy I'm thinking of.
Emmett Walsh.
Yep. And he's still alive, dude.
Is he really?
Yep.
Wow. I was like, when I saw his name, I had a thought that he had passed, but
He has 229 adding credits to his name. Unreal.
I know he is brother's 86 years old. Bless him.
Yeah, he was in he's got a couple things. One thing already come out, but he was in Knives Out. That's like the most recent thing people made.
He sure was. Yeah, he's a terrific actor. He was in a movie with Michael Keaton in the late 80s, Clean and Sober. And it's obviously it's a serious role. And I just remember Walsh just stood out in that movie. Like because he was playing a recovered addict and just telling kind of the story about his addiction and everything. I was just like, it was a really good performance.
And see right there, I think this is, like I said, this is more about I think to me that time the theme is a woman coach, not about the color of her skin.
They got more cheerleaders.
That's right. It attracts winning. You ugly. This is another one that stood out from the movie. That was like their cheers were awesome. That was. Oh, here's Tab. You ugly. You ugly.
Of course, we can get you something to eat.
Jazzercise. We just mentioned about the aerobics time about Should listen.
Concussion. Mm-hmm. That's $5.
His eyes went like, what? Have you played an away game yet? Has everything been at home? Because it's like,
I'll just eat you.
yeah.
Get in my belly. He's waving. Taking a bow.
Dude, I think we missed. I think when those ladies at that boarding school, I think that was Rose from the Titanic. Gloria Stewart was one of those ladies.
Oh,
We missed our
see, this is what we have. This is what happens when we don't do research.
Yeah.
We miss this stuff. Oh well.
Well, I mean, I was hoping I remember that reading some of her being in there, but I totally forgot to be looking for it, and then I was like, okay, that had to be her.
Sure, I can. Honky.
There he is.
Boy, that's some red punch.
Well, that's some red hair.
Yeah.
And more red hair.
Red hair. That's right. Redheads on parade.
Yahoo finally bought that peanut brittle. Ooh, that's some pink going on. That pink skirt and pink shirt.
Yep. Ooh, she came over to liquor. I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah, well, that's probably the best way to do it right there.
Yep.
Look at that. What's this Snipes being the stand up? And Robin's got to go ruin it. Oops.
Yeah. Before. Oh, I love this.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Little Phil Collins on the wall. What else we got over there?
That's Robert Plant.
Like to, it's better than Laney's room and Dream a Little Dream.
Mommy, I can feel the rotation of the earth. That's called being the booze hound, dear. the guy that plays his attorney is another familiar face. He's character actor, has been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. He is a carrot knife.
Your Honor, Alice and Mary are more valuable to me than anything. I love them very much. Your love for your children is not an issue here. This is the hearing to determine what is best for the welfare.
Ooh.
Because I'm not the best for my own.
Mr. Needham merely claims that Mr. McGrath's job as a football coach at Central High is jeopardizing the safety and well-being of his daughter.
Not true.
Further, he even tried to reach a compromise. He arranged for a job for Miss McGrath at a very fine school, which their daughters would attend, an offer she rejected with a profanity which I would not care to repeat.
He tried to trick me into quitting the one thing that I took pride in doing. In order to teach jazzercise, I called him a motherfucker. Which is linguistically correct. But I'm a mother.
Okay, just
Yeah, just yeah. Mm.
If you please the court, I think it's wrong to take Marion and Alice away from the court. I wish I had mother half because we should have him. May I approach the bench? Yes. The point is, Coach McGrath cost me a lot of money. Because ever since I've been playing football for her, I've been totally straight, you know. She told us if we found up, we were on the team fun, you know. Now, if you will look at it, that's what you wasted time.
hey, Bob, switch your turn.
Mm.
Association with this team, and petitioner must request not only the custody be immediately granted from the but that she forfeit any visitation privileges during the football season, and that the children be enjoined from attending games or otherwise associating with team members at any time during the year. Further,
Please, no. All right, Frank, you win. Next semester, I quit coaching and I teach chess. Now call this thing off. Okay?
you're offside. But Your Honor, Lincoln accepts respondent's offer.
Are you sure this is what you want?
Yes.
Then leave now. This hearing is closed. You did it.
Jan Hooks is wasted in this movie, I think.
I agree.
Football. She's like, what did I ever see in that windbag?
I know. Yeah, now they're playing at an away field
Finally.
with lines.
What was he eating? Like a packet of raw chicken.
I thought it was pizza, but it could be a funnel cake.
I don't know. It's like, what?
Oh, it's a cake.
So to see, he's just eating. Every time they cut to him, he's eating something different.
Oh, just be something different.
He'll have like a roast pig next.
You know, in these football game scenes, what's her name? Is it Swoozy? Is that how you say her name?
Hurts, yeah.
She looks like in the football scenes she's in the stands. She looks like coach's girlfriend. The
Shelly, what's her last name?
Fab. How you say it?
Yeah, I can't remember her
I
last
can't say it. Yeah, but she looks like. I mean, she really looks like her.
They have similar hairstyle.
Yeah, they do. It's like just glancing.
Shelly Fabre. That's how you pronounce her name, Fabre. Even though it looks like Faber's.
Yeah.
Apparently it's pronounced Fabre. $77. Still kicking it.
Couldn't see him. Are you trying to say something about my friend? Now, what you call him? Oh, shit. All right. Hey, look, it's nobody's fault. They're champions.
Well, maybe.
You said it, not us.
You figure if you're a coach, you're such a loser, then that gives you all the right to be a bunch of losers too, huh?
You're making sense. I mean,
You just talking for us, coach. Yes, coach.
Yeah, Frank.
Okay.
Tell us what to do. Win.
That's right. Win, you turkeys.
Turkeys. Now, one of the things I read that some of the football scenes looked like they were too up close. Like, really didn't. I have to admit, it's like going. It's like you compare it to like Remember the Titans or whatever. It's like when it's not the best coordinated scenes of.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I think about there were some movies in the 80s that were like football themed comedies, like this one and like The Best of Times with Robin Williams and Kurt Russell. Like the football scenes, I think, were just so badly filmed and just edited. It just, I don't know. It's like,
Jokes. her, her face is just like, ugh. What's the pay? No, it's the pay.
Get him.
Yep.
I got Jack itch.
Yeah, exactly.
They should have made the screen kind of like go up and down as he runs out there.
That'd be good. Yeah. But I have to say, man, I like his role with this. Is like he was really.
Yep.
Give a little Tab Thacker. I know he's shout out here.
Yep. Shout out to Tab. Rest in peace, brother.
Yep.
Funny guy.
Yeah, I mean it, man. This was yeah, like that would ever happen. And it's like, sorry, Tab. No.
Football.
It's the sport of kings, better than diamond rings.
Football.
This is about as bad as Porky's when
Yeah.
the gym teacher is like, and who picks her up? Woody and Wesley.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah. Woody and Wesley, Goldie. And here we go.
There's Wildcats.
I think the best part of the movie right here.
This is the part I think.
And I think her part there is the best. Yeah. Football.
Football. It's so
Go, Bubba. Wildcats.
don't cuss.
Yeah. Better than diamond rings.
Football.
Wildcats.
Her laugh. Listen to her little beatbox in there. There's that to me. This is like when we watch this, my friends and I think we watch the credits more times than we watch the actual movie.
Yeah.
But
And maybe when Goldie's in the bathtub, maybe that's also.
Goldie. You know, I gotta say, like, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's it's I mean, is it like the best high school football movie ever? No, but it's got some really funny scenes and some funny dialogue, and Goldie's great in it, and Wesley and Woody, and I mean the whole cast I thought was really good. I think it's one of those things. I think movies sometimes are a victim of when they came out and like what else was going on at the time. I could totally see this movie, if it had come out a few years earlier, it could have been a huge hit. I mean, I think of some other comedies in the 80s that are remembered much more, with much more fondness. And of course, I'm trying to think of one as a comparison, but none come to mind right now. But, it's like Wildcats is, it's not a bad comedy. I mean, it's pretty good. Goldie's funny and she's got a good cast, and, it was entertaining. It went by really fast. I mean,
Yep.
The movie's like an hour and 45 minutes, and it didn't feel like it. It went by pretty quickly. So
It's got a good little story to it. I think like we talked about at the beginning, I think some of those same themes, resonate throughout the film. And I think that's what, I don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, like I said, it wasn't trying to make a social statement, I think, but I think in some ways it makes it in its own way. And I think that, like I said, I mentioned this movie to my friend Eric at work, and and he remembered them. He's a little older than us, but he was like, he started singing the theme song.
Yeah.
And but it's, it's just, I think it's one of those things, man. Movies and especially comedies, it can bridge gaps and barriers there to understand, and even through humor, it's pretty good. I thought it's Is it? I mean, obviously it's not the most funniest movie in the world, but it's just
No.
it's got it. Like I said, it's got a nice little story to it, and
I certainly think, it is not the worst 80s comedy, by any stretch. I think it's just somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think it's a classic, but I also don't think it's, a bomb. Even though I
No.
feel like what I read in terms of the reviews that it got, I feel like it's a little harsh. I feel like it's, I think so many people were expecting, Goldie's going to do another Private Benjamin here, or something along the lines of that. But I mean, when you think about the movies that she did leading up to this and the movies that she did shortly after, I mean, it's her movie. I mean, she does a good job. She's a good leading lady, and she I think she kind of went into it with, she's got that Goldie charm, and she did a good job. So I mean, it is kind of interesting to think. I think if it had been a huge hit, I think if it had been just, maybe a level up from where it is, I mean, this movie could have had a sequel, I think, if it had just been, I don't know, better direction or a better script. I don't know. But I mean, I think it had all the elements there. I could have easily seen it being having a sequel of some kind. But I think it just speaks to the whole thing with Hollywood, movies, like I was saying, if this had come out at a different time in the 80s, who knows? It might have been a bigger hit. But just sometimes with movies, just they can be really good, or they can be, just so-so, and just they hit something, they hit the right time, or they don't, and it isn't until years later they kind of get this cult following or whatever. But I gotta say, it's, I think we've watched some other films where I remembered fondly, and then we watched it, like Iron Eagle, for example, and it's like it came away from that going like, wow, that was not good.
Not as good as what my 13-year-old self.
Yeah, I mean, with this one, I had good memories of it, and I'm like, yeah, I lived up to it. It's it's funny, I enjoyed it. So yeah, that was Wildcats. That was good.
Well, you mentioned something about this, about script, and that's something too. But actors and actresses, and you can, Goldie Hawn's funny, and but she can only, do what the script. I mean, and if a director, and I don't know what the direction was, but it's like going, and if some directors like John Hughes would let you keep filming and go in different directions and whatever, but most directors are probably going to keep you kind of on point and kind of keep you onto a script. And if the script doesn't allow you to, you can only go so far in a certain role. It's like going,
yeah,
you can't. I mean, like, it's believable about what she's doing. And I think that's the key. It's like going, she may not have been given as many opportunities to be funny as what she can do. But she's still funny in the movie. It's just the fact of going, but if the script's limited, she can only do so much. And I think that sometimes we forget. It's like Ron Reynolds in Green Lantern. It's like going, Ron Reynolds didn't do a bad job in Green Lantern. I know I'm going off kilter here, but it's like, but I don't blame him. I blame the script. It's just, and it's kind of, and we made the connection back to Blake Lively. There we go. And that's my connection. But I mean, but it's kind of the same way. It's just like saying that sometimes, like, this movie is, I think it's a cute movie, a good movie, and it's a funny movie, but it's not. But I don't think it was written. It's like, And no offense, no, I'm not trying to be ugly to the screenwriter. I'm just trying to say that it wasn't going to be, unless some changes were made, it wasn't going to be a huge 80s hit. But like you talked about, it's only because, it's not because of the cast, and it's not because of the actors in the movie. That's what,
I've often said this, and I think I may have said this in another episode, that when a movie comes out and it's successful, meaning audiences love it, critics like it, it's a miracle. It really is. I mean, there are so many things that have to work all at once. And one thing can just completely unravel it, whether it's a bad script, bad directing, bad acting, bad editing, bad production value. I mean, it can really derail a film. And so when you see something that's good, or even remotely, just mildly good, I mean, I know enough about the business to know it is nothing short of a miracle. And so, it's there's so many things that can just completely fall apart and destroy a movie. And I was just, as you were talking, I was looking up the IMDb. So the screenwriter for this is Ezra Sachs, and it looks like he only has 3 writers credits. The movie FM, movie A Small Circle of Friends, and then Wildcats. That was the last thing that he was credited as a writer. He was a producer for a short film in 2016, but it looks like, I don't know if he was a professor at NYU or something. I think maybe looks like maybe that was his scenario. It's, I personally, just, from my background, I look at it as, yeah, the script probably needed some work. I mean, I think there's some things in there that were good and worked, but there's some other things I think that could have been, I don't know, tightened up, and could have been opportunity for more humor. But anyway,
Yeah, and we know how the studios had a big impact on, if they're thinking, well, other comedies have this in it, you need to do more of this, you need to, like some of the lines in there where they, or whatever, it's like, it needs to be more like Porky's, or it needs to have a little bit more, like, like we need a, like we need a naked scene. We need to, we need to do something. And it's just kind of like, sometimes, the studio can mess up, even if the script's good and the director wants to do something, the studio can get their nose into something. And just because somebody else is doing this, we need to do the same thing, or we need to change this up a little bit and make this appeal to quote.
I've had very little, I've had some experience talking to producers and executives years ago when I was working in film. And it is amazing some of the things that they will suggest things, or they will push for things where you're sitting there and you're listening to it and you're going, that might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and you kind of question yourself. You're like, am I just being overly critical here, or am I just being overprotective of whatever it is that, I was pitching at the time? But years now passed, and looking back on it, I'm like, no, what they said was absolutely stupid. But that's how they keep their job. That's how they justify their job. It's like, well, I pushed for this, or, I made recommendations. And so, but, the stories that I've heard is that, a lot of times when studio execs start getting involved, it usually is not a good result. I can't think of a single story where, oh yeah, the studio executives really got involved and they turned out a great product. The story is usually the director, the actor, the writer stuck to their guns and pushed for it. One thing that comes to mind, another film with a female lead, is the first Wonder Woman film, where the director, Patty Jenkins, she had shot this scene where Wonder Woman goes across no man's land during World War I. And studio execs were like, cut that scene out. You don't need it in there. It's like, it's too long. It doesn't do anything. And both Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins pushed for it. And I think even Chris Pine got involved and said, no, you need to keep that scene in there. Like, it took them pushing and just sticking to their guns and saying, no, this scene has to stay in there. And it turned out, they were totally right. The studio executives were wrong, because it's a great scene. It's a very impactful scene. So, yeah, who knows what happened behind the scenes with Wildcats. Yes, Goldie was a leading lady, and she had, headlined a lot of movies up to this point, but who knows was calling the shots. I mean, Ritchie was an established director, but depending on the executives, and I feel like Warner Brothers has a reputation for studio executive interference that has led to some less than good results, but who knows? And that was Wildcats. Join us again next week when we jump forward into the 90s and revisit another movie featuring Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, White Men Can't Jump. For more about 80s movies and music, check out Garrett's channel on YouTube, All Things 80s with Garrett, and follow him on Instagram at All Things 80s with Garrett. The Midnight Movie Snack Podcast also posts its episodes on YouTube, and we're also on Instagram at the Midnight Movie Snack Podcast. Follow us for updates, trivia, and more. Until next time, thanks for hanging out with us, watching the movie, and listening to our commentary. Bye for now.